In 2016, a new TV show hit the digital airwaves and needed a podcast dedicated to chronicling its adventures. An elite team has been assembled for this task. Unfortunately, the world's listeners have not heard of this Wonder Twin duo. And although they may not be known now, in the future they will be referred to as tomorrow's legends. And now, here are your hosts, the Scarlet Speedster himself, the Flash, and the Maid of Mischief, Harley Quinn.
Down in Aruba, Jamaica, ooh, I wanna take you to Bermuda, Bahama, come on, pretty mama, Key Largo, Montego, baby, why don't we go?
Oh, Harley, are we going to Aruba?
I wish we were going to Aruba. We need our own time machine so we can go.
I think that would have been a fitting way to end the episode, to see all of our legends laying on the beach. That would have been priceless.
That would have been great.
Well, welcome everybody. Welcome Legendaires to Season 2, Episode 17, our season finale titled Aruba.
Aruba.
Ah, yes. As we got the song playing in the background, I couldn't help but think of the Beach Boys as soon as I saw that title. It was pretty funny.
I think just about everybody did. This song has been stuck in my head for days.
Well, we have got so much to talk about because this episode just blew, I think, everybody away. I have not seen hardly any sourness towards it at all. I think a lot of people had fun with this one. Especially you, Harley. What is going on here? You have got a rating of...
I know. I gave it a 10.
What?
That's right. That's right. You heard it right. I gave it a 10.
Wow. The first one ever.
I know, but it was so good. And I liked it better than last week, which I liked a little bit better than the previous week. And so... I had to give it a 10. All right, so I had to give this a fun rating, and so I gave this, the first rule about time travel is you don't travel back to a time you already visited. And the second rule about time travel is, I think you guys kind of get this. So it was a fantastic episode. I loved it, obviously. Highest rated episode, probably, I think, for me ever. I don't know that I've given many other things a 10.
I do not recall ever in the time that I've known you. No tens.
I know. I mean, it was a great episode. It was a fantastic way to end the season. It was action-packed. It was very intriguing. It tied up a bunch of storylines, but at the same time, it was still setting up an intriguing next season. And I love this. I love it when TV shows do that.
Yeah, it kind of leaves it open-ended. Well, I mean, we'll talk about it when we get to the end, but yeah, it kind of left it hanging with like there was no real cliffhanger in a sense that was, like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Is he dead? Is she alive? Whatever. It was just more like a wide open cliffhanger ending. So yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that.
I know. So what did you rate it? I don't think your rating was quite as high as mine, but it's still pretty high.
Yeah, I'm in there at a 9.25, and that's my first quarter point rating. And the reason I did that is because I actually liked last week's quite a bit better, which I think was a 9.5. Last week, I think, was just far more intense, and it was intense and serious, where this week... It had some serious moments and some shocks and gut punches, but it also had a lot of hilarity in it. And I mean, our show definitely knows how to entertain. Just what a fun way to end such a spectacular season. So how about we get to it?
Sounds great.
Oh, actually, I forgot. I called it 9.25 Eobards running around. Even though there was probably way more than that, but definitely.
Yeah.
So to kick us off, we got some pre-show feedback from Northern Freeze. He was doing a little bit of a catch-up, and I believe that is what his first voicemail is about, is the last couple episodes. So let's see what he has to say.
Hey, Flash and Harley, Northern Freeze here. Yeah, I'm a little bit behind, I admit that. I tend to watch everything in clumps, and then I just finished listening to all 5 podcasts from Camelot 3000 up to Doom World, back to back to back to back to back.
Oh, dear.
Sorry, before you say anything, you have nothing to apologize for. I love your guys' show. Keep up the good work.
Aw, thanks, man.
But, being behind, I just want to toss in a couple, I just want to build up to Doom World, and then, with just a few insights and just my own little thoughts on it. Camelot 3000. Sarah Lance at the end kissing Guinevere. Honestly, that didn't surprise me. I was actually expecting it to happen as soon as she got named as Lancelot, because just about any Arthurian spin I've seen so far, there's always been some kind of a love triangle between Arthur, Guinevere, and Lancelot.
Yeah.
Although I did find it funny that it was Ray that kind of goaded her into it. Well, suggested it. It gave me a bit of a throwback to the end of the Invasion crossover when Mick was asking Sarah if she thought the president was hot. Land of the Lost. There was a couple of things that I noticed here, and I just wanted to mention. At the end, after we get Rip realizing who he is, and he's just about to come out of the mindscape, and he's in there alone with Gideon. He's thanking Gideon that she was always there with him during those days in this hell, in this prison. So I know we were kind of theorizing that Gideon came in with Sarah and Jax when they first did the cognitive intrusion to try to get him out. But just the way Rip said that she was there for all the days. So that implies that maybe she was constantly in some contact with him somehow. Implant, maybe, that the Time Master stuck in there when he was a captain. It struck me as kind of odd, but it also explains even more why she remembered the kiss when she's talking to Rip at the end of it. Also, just a bit of a nitpick at the very end when they were tying in to go to the moonshot, and we had Swaggart in talking with the quote-unquote doctor. I suppose he is a scientist. He could have had a doctorship. When he was talking to Thawne about just, if he was ready to go and all that, and Swaggart said to Thawne that he just wanted to go up in the shuttle. Now, I thought that they referred to them as capsules back in the 70s and with the Apollo program and the single rocket. I didn't think they became... I know the shuttles didn't come into play until late 70s, early 80s kind of thing. So that... I don't know if I misunderstood what they were saying or if it was a goof on the writer's parts, but that kind of tweaked me the wrong way. Anyway, nothing really much to say about Moonshot. I enjoyed the episode. Then we go to the we've got the Fellowship of the Lance, and there was one Tolkien reference that I just kind of chuckled at because it was a throwaway line. It was just, tossed in there, but it still made me smirk. And that was when they just brought Tolkien back to the ship and cured him of his typhoid fever. And Rip and Nate were in with him in the med bay, and Rip was talking to him, just saying, oh yeah, this is a group, and I'm with this group, and blah blah blah. And Nate chimes in. He's like, we're kind of a fellowship, if you will. And it's just like, well, I was flipping a coin as whether it was going to be Nate or Ray to toss out the fellowship line.
Yep.
Doom World. A couple of things that I kind of thought were interesting. One, in regards to the furnace that Eobard had built to destroy the spear. sorry, didn't really. What I first thought of when I saw that firing up was the furnaces on the surface of Apocalypse, Darkseid's homeworld. And these furnaces are supposedly what he uses to forge all of his weapons that he uses in his various wars. And they look like these great, massive, glowing pits, which was essentially what we've got there. And I was just like, that's not good. And then when he threw the spear in at the end and the giant beam of light shot up, I kind of got just a slight throwback to Raiders of the Lost Ark when when they open up the Ark of the Covenant. Of course, all the Nazis get killed,
Faces,
and then there's that massive beam of light going up into the heavens. And just before the ark closes its own lid, and just that one beam of light going straight up into the sky kind of gave me that feel. Also, the other thing I noticed was just a couple of still shots of the Hall of Doom. I didn't notice it before. I thought it was just sitting out in the middle of a concrete pad, but I think it's actually sitting over a pond of water. Which again ties back to the original history of always seeing the Hall of Doom kind of surfacing up out of a marsh.
Exactly.
And that
like it might be water.
Kind of sums up everything. I've really been enjoying the show. I've been enjoying listening to you guys, and I look forward to seeing where things go with the finale here. And I'll be talking to you guys later. So take her easy, keep up the good work, and Northern Freeze out.
Wow. Well, that was a wonderful, lengthy voicemail. It's actually, I think that's the first time we've heard from Northern Freeze in a voicemail. So awesome. Thanks for sending that in. Just good to hear from you. Now, I was taking notes down because I saw how long this was going to be. So just a couple points. He had mentioned the stuff about Sarah and her kissing Guinevere and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And have you noticed that since back then, like the last four or five episodes, she really hasn't been doing much flirting or anything at all. It really tapered off.
I did notice that. I wondered if they possibly lodged a complaint, or heard the complaint maybe and adjusted in the back half of the season, because we got those extra episodes tacked on.
Yeah, I don't know. It could have to do with feedback. I don't know. Or maybe the writers or the directors or producers or whatever, maybe they picked up on it as well. But yeah, I just wanted to say that it's definitely tapered right off. Then the other point I thought was really interesting was his comments about Gideon possibly being in Rip's head the whole time, as if they're linked somehow. So it got me to thinking, does every captain, when he gets his time travel ship, do they have to be linked and connected that way? And that was pretty cool. It was cool that he brought that up, and it's really making me go back to think, yeah, she maybe was with him the whole time, and that's why she remembers things, because she's connected to him, so she knows what he's thinking and remembering. I don't know. That was a very interesting point, I thought.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really interesting concept, because I always took it to mean that he, in his head, he kept Gideon there, but that was his memory of her and his portrayal of her, I guess. Mm-hmm. But he's right. She did remember the kiss, which, if she came in when Jax and Sarah went in, I guess that would make sense of why she remembers that. But I think that's a very interesting theory, that they could possibly be further connected. That'd be pretty cool.
It makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And then his little point about the shuttle, I'm guessing that was probably just a writing mistake when they probably should have said something else. I'm guessing it's one of those things that slipped by and nobody caught.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know the average age of the writer's room, but I'm willing to bet it's pretty young.
Probably.
Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, and the last thing that I wanted to bring up about his feedback was the the connection to Raiders of the Lost Ark, and when the Ark released its power and the beam shot into the sky, that I think we were kind of trying to figure out when we were talking about it what that could have been. And I think after listening to him, and it goes along with some of the thoughts that I had, that I think, like the Ark of the Covenant, the spear contained God's power, if you will. And since the Ark was opened when it shouldn't have been, and the spear was destroyed when it shouldn't have been, I think it's just the power being released, and in a the way people think God is up in the sky or wherever kind of thing in the heavens above, the power is just returning to where it came from. Is kind of maybe the visual they're giving. That's
I mean, and I think that makes sense. Yeah, I like that. Because otherwise I was like, wait, why did that happen? So I like that theory, and I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. What about you? Did you get any points you picked out of that you wanted to touch on?
No, you picked up all the ones I wanted to talk about. So
okay, cool.
We got them.
Well, thanks so much for that, Northern Freeze. Good to hear from you. Let's we got a tiny bit of news, don't we?
Yeah, a tiny bit of news. It got posted in Facebook.
Gathered together from the cosmic reaches of the universe.
All right, what did you get for us?
Well, I think this was courtesy of Karina, and she posted it in Facebook, and I don't think she's happy about this news.
Right.
Yeah, I think a couple others had some mixed emotions, but Rip is coming back for season 3. So,
okay, now did they state full time? They just said he's returning or he'll be back. They didn't say that he's on for full regular character, did they?
No, they did not. They said that he is coming back in like some capacity. They didn't even, the way that the statement was worded, it sounded like he may not even be a part of the team, that he may be doing something else entirely somehow. So I don't know. I think that's really interesting.
Right.
And I'm personally happy that he's coming back. I mean, I've always liked the Rip character, and I think that he's gotten a lot better over the course of season 2. Plus, we need a time master. We need someone who knows the ins and outs of Gideon and the Waverider, and we need someone who knows time travel secrets. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm happy he's coming back.
You're totally right there. Like he is a time master, and there's just knowledge and experience that he has that our team does not. So to lose him completely, I mean, they did fine, of course, this first half of the season without him, but to lose him completely, I think, could be a bit detrimental to the team. When they released that, there seems to be kind of a very 50-50 split on fan reaction to his return. A lot of people are happy, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, come on." I'm just disappointed that they released this news already. Like, he just said goodbye, which we'll get to this on the show, but he just said goodbye and left. And we haven't even had, it was a very touching, emotional moment, and we didn't have time to let that sink in. And they're already posting news that he's coming back, and it's like, what? It's like, no, let us simmer on it all summer long and let the emotion sink in. Like that, to me, they released that way too soon. The show's barely over. Yeah,
I know. I was kind of surprised that they did release that, and I wasn't thinking that he wouldn't be returning. I was already of the opinion that I was like, he's got to come back in some way. I mean, he's got to come back. But yeah, then they kind of confirmed it. I was like, oh, that was fast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But.
Well, all right, let's dive into this episode, shall we?
Yeah.
Our season 2 finale.
I know.
Oh, well, let's do this. The opening montage was absolutely fantastic. What a way to start us off to a fitting classic song that really just kind of shows you how fun this whole season has been.
Yeah, it was great. As soon as they started it, and then I think it was the second line, Mick says, "Why couldn't we go to Aruba 2016?" And I was like, that's it. That's why they called it Aruba.
Well, and then he mentions it a couple times later in the episode too. So.
Oh yeah, it's the running gag throughout the entire episode, and it's fantastic. I loved the way that it was weaved in throughout the entire episode, and I loved that they called it Aruba. Like, I think that was just brilliant.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it really had nothing to do with anything at all, other than Mick's desire to just go on a vacation.
No, exactly, and it stumped all of us. I mean, how many people were comparing it to Shield?
Yeah. Like, you know,
Aruba, it's a magical place.
It's a magical place. So what could this possibly be?
I know.
Too funny.
I know.
So after that, I mean, it's quite the opening sequence, and then it jumps pretty much right to where the last week ended, essentially. Yeah,
I mean, we start this opening scene with Rip and Gideon. They're trying to get the Waverider up and running. And this cracked me up that Rip had absolutely no idea that he was teeny tiny.
No.
So we must be in some sort of hangar. I'm like, you're in Star Labs, buddy.
Oh, yeah. And then, Gideon, what is that? Is that another ship? It appears to be a desk lamp, sir. Like,
that was so
some
funny.
pretty funny stuff, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in the beginning here.
I guess when you're that small and you're not used to being that small, the whole world everything would just look so strange. You might not recognize it at first, and who knows what angle, what he was looking at. Maybe there was just nothing to. It just looked like gigantic walls, so he would imagine it's a hangar. Yeah,
yeah.
You just have to try and imagine, what does the world look like from the being the size of a bug.
I know, and that's kind of how you have to think of it. Everything is kind of totally out of proportion. He doesn't know where he's at, so he's assuming that he's not miniaturized. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Right.
But it looks like as he's trying to contact everybody else, the team is also trying to contact him.
Yeah.
But they were kind of struggling with how to use 21st century technology to contact a 22nd century ship.
Right. But he figured it out before they did, because he's like, hello, I hear you.
I know, that was so funny. It's like, Sarah, Rip, what did you do? Good job. It's like, I didn't do anything.
And then of course he's like, okay, stay there. I've honed in on your location. I'll be there momentarily. And he does. Whoop, he's right there pretty quick.
Yep.
And it's just a tiny little spaceship, just size of a model. Cute.
I know. So cute that Rory decides that it would make a great toy.
Yeah, he just grabs it and shakes it. Oh, look at the tiny man inside.
Oh, leave it to McRory.
Too funny.
I know. So the good news is that apparently Ray's suit is still intact, because that's what Rip surmises that Thawne used to shrink him with, which makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
And that, I think I liked that. I wouldn't say that is necessarily a twist, but maybe the reveal that they ended up using the suit and not the Spear of Destiny, because we were all kind of wondering, is like, why does he have all of his memories and he doesn't seem to think anything is not like, he knows something's wrong, but he didn't think it was too crazy. I was like, so they must not have rewritten him at all. They just shrunk him to hide him in Star Labs.
Yeah, exactly. Which I guess it's just Thawne toying with him.
Yeah. So. Which that's interesting, because he does say that he had been stuck there for a year.
Yeah, you know what?
But it's still 2017.
Where did that come up? Was that in all the Facebook posts? I saw people struggling with that. Someone had said, "Yeah, but if Rip was stuck there for a year and everybody else has only been a couple of weeks, what's going on? Is the time change and this and that?" And I was actually thinking about that, and I said, "No, you know what? They've all been trapped there for a year. A year has gone by." Because they all are in their new identities, and you look at Sarah and Amaya, they've been working for Dark for quite a while, obviously. Ray has been a janitor at at the Legion of Doom headquarters for quite a while. For him to get to know the place like the back of his hand and know his job so well. And Stein was working on that reactor core, Which I know people can, well, why didn't Thawne just build it himself? Well, maybe Thawne doesn't know how to build that kind of stuff, but Stein does. Well, Stein can't just build that in 2 weeks. That's obviously taken a year of work to do.
Yeah.
So if you look at all of these things, they've been living that life for a year. I think we had just a massive time jump to this, new reality. It's called Doom World. It's not called Doom Day. It's Doom World. Well, the world has changed, and it's been functioning that way. I mean, you look at Eobard Thawne, all the different things that he had accomplished, solving cold fusion and stopping world hunger. And that doesn't take 2 weeks to do. He's always been working on it all year long. So I deduce that they all have been there for a year in that new identity, those new lives.
I agree. That makes sense. That was very well stated.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right. So after that, I guess we are with Ray and who's with Ray? Ray and Jax. They all go into Star Labs. They're basically, we've got to find Ray's suit. That's what they figured out. Okay, we've got to find the suit. It's obviously still functioning, so we can, get Rip back to normal size and the Waverider.
Yeah, which we get a pretty amusing scene with Ray and his suit.
Yes, I mean just Jax, just a look on Jax's face while Ray's, having a private moment
with his suit.
Yes.
We'll get back to that.
We'll get back to that.
Don't you guys worry.
But then, of course, God. Damien Darhk comes running in, and he's like, ha, ha, ha. I figured you guys would be here, and he's got his magic powers, of course, and immediately grabs Jax, and then Ray goes to fire up his suit, and he grabs Ray, and good performances on the two of them, because that looked like they actually were getting choked out by Darth Vader. It was pretty cool. Yeah,
it was. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I like that Rory comes in and saves the day.
Yeah. Well, before that, it's Rip trying to save the day.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. He tries to fire. What does he say? Like fire everything, Gideon, or something like that. But it's so small, it doesn't do anything.
All he hears a pew pew pew.
I know. Dark's like, oh, that's cute.
Yeah, that's kind of cute. And then that's when Mick comes in and just whacks him over the back of the head.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's how you defeat Dark. You just catch him by surprise.
Exactly, from behind while he's doing his magic thing. So yeah.
He's completely distracted. He's monologuing as usual. Just smash him over the head. Perfect.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. Well, so we escape after that because we can, restore the Waverider and Rip to their real sizes. Which that was a pretty cool visual to see the Waverider literally like busting through Star Labs.
Yeah, through the roof because the whole thing's shaking like an earthquake, and then it was a pretty cool scene. So now Star Labs is back to being kind of destroyed like it has always been in The Flash.
Yeah. Well, at least in this reality, right? All right. Well, now that we're back on board the regular size Waverider so everybody can join Rip, they fill him in on the plan, and he is not too happy with what they've come up with.
Well, he's a time master, right? So he knows what could possibly happen.
Exactly. And they've decided they have to go back and do the one thing he told them they can never do, which is interact with themselves, because they're going to risk destroying time itself, apparently, or creating paradoxes, as we see throughout the rest of the episode.
Now, he actually really thoroughly explains it here, which I liked. He gave the exact science of it all as to what is going to happen.
Yeah, he did. And it's as usual. This is why we need Rip in season 3. He's got about 45 seconds of exposition, and it takes care of everything and almost always negates my nitpicks from the previous week. But just a little shout out here to the Green Butterfly, who surmised this previously before the episode even started. So I just wanted to give her a little shout out.
Yeah, way to go, Justina.
Yeah, but she said that and Rip said. So they both said that reality, like time, takes time to set. And so they're in a race against a reality wave that initiates from 2017. So that explains why they can actually travel to 1916 and it still be the original reality, not too more.
Right, because it starts at 2017 and will ripple through the future from there.
Yeah, and the past, I guess. So I don't know what it's going to do to the past, but anyway, so at least for now, that's how we can go back to our original reality because it hasn't rippled through and set yet.
Yeah, and I think it's a very, very intricate, ingenious way to write us a way out of this predicament.
Mm-hmm.
So way to go, writers. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was great. And then by doing this, now this was a crazy turn of events that I didn't really see coming. Basically, they've gone this whole season to end up creating a team of aberrant legends.
Yeah.
So now, so if they want to prevent Doomworld from happening, they basically have to erase themselves from existence because they're the aberrations.
I know, what a mind-blowing twist. Like, it actually took kind of like reality and time having said it actually took a little bit to set into my brain too.
Me too.
After watching it twice, I'm like, whoa, wait a second. The whole season has been the aberrations. What?
Yeah, exactly. Technically, I mean, they kind of diverge at the 1916 point. So technically, the people left in 1916 still experienced everything the same, right?
Right.
Yeah, okay. And then in the 1916 point, that's the divergent point. Divergent point. Anyway.
Still, it was cool. It's mind-blowing to think back. Like it's a much, much better way to write the idea of, oh, this whole movie you've been watching was just a dream. Yeah. You know, that kind of twist that, you know, sometimes it's worked and a lot of times it hasn't, but it's to me, it's a far better way to write it. It's like, hey, guess what?
Yeah, I liked it. It didn't negate the entire season either.
No.
It was a good twist, and it played right into the same themes they've kind of been harping on throughout the entire season.
Yeah.
Which is time aberrations. So I thought that was really cool.
Right.
But just before we've had this really set in, we're fully understanding this, we get our first kind of battle, sort of battle, I guess. It's not really a battle.
Well, they arrive back at the war of the what is it called? The Psalms?
The Battle of the Psalm.
Yeah, so they arrive back there because they figure they're going to go get the blood of Christ again, or for the first time, I don't know, whatever you want to look at it, and destroy the spear. So they're back to that point of time again. But I don't think they went back early enough.
Well, I don't know if that they didn't go back early enough, but I mean, Thawne just kind of catches up to them. So Ray kind of flies over into no man's land. He picks up the blood of Christ. He's like, man, that was easy. You know, that was way easier than last time.
Fatal last words.
I know. And then Thawne speeds in. He's like, I knew you'd be here. I knew you guys would come back. You're idiots.
Well, and he's like, my teammates have always been telling me to do something, and I think I'm going to finally do it. And that's when he zips over to Ray, rips his heart out.
Literally.
Like, literally rips it out. And at first, I didn't know. I was like, is that Ray? Is that our Ray? Is that the aberration Ray? I was a little confused because I was in shock. It was shocking to watch. Like,
it was.
Poor Ray, no matter which one it is, that was hard to watch because he's our Boy Scout. He's the happy member of the team. He's the guy that brings the positivity. So to watch him die like that, all by himself in the middle of a battlefield, it was hard to watch.
It was hard to watch, and I wasn't expecting it. I mean, that was in the first 10 minutes of the show.
Yeah,
we've already got one person killed. It was crazy,
and it just shows you how wicked Thawne can be. Like, man, that when he turns a leaf like that and makes a decision like that, he's just. I mean, there's no stopping him. Like. He sped over there, vibrated into his chest, ripped his heart out, and was back before Ray could even blink. It's scary how much of a threat Thawne is.
Absolutely. That's why we had to fix that.
Yeah. Wow. Hey, like, oh, yeah. So poor Ray. Poor Ray. That was hard to watch, no matter which version of him he was.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, because we've just barely not even got used to this idea. We've just been presented with this idea that it's okay if he dies because he's still alive and well in 1916, as Rory poignantly points out. But the problem is that if they don't get the spear now and alter the course of events, then Ray will eventually die. I mean, technically he just did.
Yeah.
So they've got to, now that he's dead, they really can't fail.
Nope.
Otherwise Ray's really dead.
So, anyway, so we're trying to shake that little shock off, and where do we go from there?
Well, now we need another plan to get the spear, because we were going to steal the blood and then replace the blood somewhere where the past legends could more easily find it. But that backfired. So now we're trying to figure out how we can steal the spear when it's on the Waverider and we're not supposed to be interacting with past versions of ourselves.
Right. But they realize that half the team is away from the ship.
Yeah.
Headed to the church.
Yes, the Backstreet Boys have headed to the church. And so the other Backstreet Boys, minus Ray, are now going to go on to the Waverider and steal the spear. Which would have worked, actually. Would have worked quite well. But there's some small problems, which there's a couple, I don't know, there's a couple other things we can talk about maybe before that. But
right.
because this kind of cuts back to the reunion scene of Snart and Rory, too.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true. With when he's back in the camp kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's back to when he first starts seeing Snart again. And he's trying to shake it off, like, you're just in my head, go away. And then that's when Snart punches him. He's like, does that seem like a hallucination to you?
Yeah, exactly. I like that we got to see the other side of this, because you see he basically walks around the tent and Rory goes somewhere else and he goes back in the tent and there's, Damien Darhk, and I think at this point it's just Damien Darhk until he's joined by a few other people.
Yeah, but it was just cool because the camera kind of just swings around over Snart's shoulders and just follows him. So it was really neat to pick up that scene and see it from a different perspective, to see what the bad guys are doing, what our Legion is doing. So it was it was really, really cool to see how it all went down. Mm-hmm. And then Thawne shows up, and it's not our Thawne. It's not 1916 Thawne. It's Thawne from the future.
Mm-hmm.
Another version of him that knows what the legends are doing, because the future Thawne knows that they went back in time, and yeah, it's crazy. It's starting to. This is where it starts to get a little bit mind-boggling. But
this entire conversation was hilarious.
Yeah, what a cool scene. Because he shows up with Malcolm, and Malcolm's all confused, like, what the? And Darhk is like, I thought you were trying to retrieve that book, and Malcolm just like, yeah, me too. And then Thawne starts explaining that no, the legends are here, and they're like, yeah, we know. No, another set of legends are here. What? 2 sets of legends? What the hell? Yeah, awesome scene. Just so funny. And just Darhk trying to explain it to them that they're from the future and they came back again to steal the spear from us before we actually get it. It was really cool how he's trying to explain it to them.
And they're just not comprehending it, because they're like, but yeah, we know you're from the future. We get it. And he's like, no. I'm from a different future.
Too funny. Such a great scene.
It was a great scene.
And then he goes and he leaves, and of course, where are you going? I'm off to get backup. And at that point we have no idea what he's talking about. Backup? Who else is he going to go get?
I know, and I even thought that. I was like, what in the world? I was like, who is he going to get? Like, are we going to see some other villains? Like, I don't get it. Oh man, we get it later.
Yeah, we get it later. I mean, how cool would it have been if he had gotten someone else to introduce us to some new villains right there and then in the finale, and somebody that might carry on in the next season, but because I just didn't know. I had no idea at that point.
Yeah, I didn't either. That would have been cool. But I mean, what they did was, let's not jump ahead. We'll get there when we get there.
Right.
Unfortunately, this one is a bit better. We have to, if we go chronologically.
All right. So we're back to our guys on the ship, or going to get onto the ship to try to steal the spear.
Yeah. So, well, at this point, I think they are on the ship, which makes for some very interesting interactions. But I liked that Mick was taking charge.
Yeah.
I thought it made a whole lot of sense, especially for the type of mission, quote unquote, they're on. He's like, I'm a thief. I'm in charge. He just stepped right up and they just followed. It was so fantastic.
Well, he found his place. That's his position on the team. So it makes sense.
I know. It was great. It was great that no one argued and that they were just like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. We're going to go with this. We're going to do what he says. It was awesome.
Yeah. Well,
except
it's not like he gave him a choice. He jumped up and went anyway. So they had to follow.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't really hear too many complaints though.
No. But it comes to this great scene where they get on the ship and unexpectedly run into Sarah, and it's not their Sarah. It's 1916 Sarah.
Wait, didn't you just leave?
Exactly. And just to see them bumbling and fumbling, trying to come up with stories. And she's just looking at him like, what is wrong with you guys? They all come up with different scenarios as to why they're back. And it's just funny. It's so probably the funniest scene of the whole episode. To watch them stumbling, you can tell that they totally respect Sarah as a captain, because it's like the teacher walked into the classroom and caught everybody talking, you know.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. That's a good way to describe it.
Yeah, so funny.
Yeah, well, we get the scene with Nate in the library, and he's talking. Is he talking to Jax and to Stein? I think he's trying.
Yeah, they're both in there with him, and Maya comes in late.
Yeah, so she walks in and he just dead stops. He just completely goes speechless, stops talking. I was like, oh, come on, dude. Like, I get it, but yeah, you got to be better than this. You can't act like you're never going to see her again or whatever.
Just was showing that he's in love. I think it was at that moment he realized he's actually in love with her.
Yeah, I think so too. I think once he saw her, he realized what he had lost. And it kind of all came crashing down in that scene, which it was well acted. It was just...
Yep.
Yeah, it was just, the whole romance thing. But it was all right, this episode. It wasn't too distracting. I felt like it kind of served a good purpose. So
yeah, it's believable. Like they've spent enough time on it that these two are okay. It's believable. They're kind of cute actually. So
yeah, especially at this point. So, but problem is now that he's distracted, he's taking too long, and so everybody, the three of them get trapped on the Waverider as their past selves are walking back to the Waverider, which is a little bit of a problem. So now, well, first I liked that it actually wasn't Mick's fault. That was fantastic. But then Sarah and Jax tried to do a little delay tactic that didn't work so well.
Trying to run some interference.
Yeah. Sarah's excuse was a little thin. I was like, the ship is broken. Come on,
like,
you
really?
can come up with something better than that.
Yeah.
Luckily, Jax jumped in. I mean, radiation leak, totally plausible. A little dire, but it works.
But then they're like, well, where's Amaya? Oh, she's safe. We got her to safety. Like, they were really not prepared for that. And yeah, it was pretty funny.
No. Although there was this great line of, what's a little radiation for one half of Firestorm, right?
Yeah. Oh, man.
That was great.
But then what gives them away, of course, is the comm pieces in their ear.
It just cracks me up that they didn't think about this. It's such like an integral piece of the way their team works because they're always constantly in communication.
Uh-huh.
Always. And they didn't think that their past selves are also always constantly in communication.
Nope.
So that was pretty funny.
No, that was pretty funny. Yeah, I mean, especially when Sarah contacts Ray and he's looking, he's like, I'm looking right at you. He was so confused. And then she tells him to take her out. And
yeah.
Yeah, it was another whole funny sequence there because they're starting to fight amongst themselves and watching Ray try to take down Sarah, and she just finally uppercuts him and does a little assassin moves.
Yeah.
It really just shows once again that the hand-to-hand combat skill levels of everybody and who really stands out and who doesn't.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty funny. I think at one point Ray slugs Rip, and then Sarah kind of takes out Ray, who accidentally took out Rip, and then Nate just steals up and punches her in the head with a steel fist. I was like, oh.
Wow. But it was a very Three Stooges type of sequence.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it was so funny.
Yeah, so funny.
There's a lot of comedy in the first half of this episode, which was really good.
Yeah, exactly. So from there, we go to...
Well, now we're all on board the Waverider, which is bad.
The entire, both versions of the Legends. They're all there.
Yes.
Except
Two
for
sets of
one
legends.
version of Ray.
Yeah, well, that's true. So Ray and Amaya's past selves are already dead, and Stein's past self is brainwashed and still in 2018 or 27, wherever he is in the future.
Right.
So, which they notice after. So, I mean, they kind of all come face to face. And then as soon as the Rips come face to face, then that's when the reality quake kind of sets off.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a little interesting.
Yeah, it was cool. And I don't know if that was that based just because Rip showed up, or was that based on all of the surviving members are all there together at once? Did it have to be all of them to start the quake?
That's kind of my question. I don't know, because the way that it was shot, it kind of just looked like as soon as the Rips came face to face is when it set off, even though they were all at that point then present in the room. But I don't understand why why he had to walk in for the reality quake to set off. Well, that's what kind of confused me.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm wondering about, if it is just him, or because I wonder if it has something to do with all of them are originally there in 1916 the first time. So in order to create a time quake, you have to have the exact same versions, or not same versions, but you have to have the exact same people in the same space as the original ones that are there. That's what's going to create the time quake. So I'm wondering if only half of them showed up, would it not happen?
But we're still missing 3 people: Amaya, Ray, and Stein.
Yeah, that's true, but they were there, though. So they might not have... I don't know, maybe do they have to be face-to-face? Or just be in the same space, the same region? I don't know.
I think they have to interact with each other. I think that was the key.
Right. Okay. So Rip is the ultimate key to this whole thing.
I guess. Yeah. As soon as they come face to face is when the reality quake goes off.
Interesting. Well, I'll have to see. I wonder if there's anything about that in our feedback. We'll have to see.
We'll have to see. Okay.
But Rory, of course, this is at the point where Rory's very, as you put it here, delicate as always, points out that 2 of them are dead because they were questioning, well, not everybody's here. What's going on? And he just points, well, you're dead, and you're dead, and you, well, might as well be dead.
Yeah, exactly.
Great.
Stein's like, what? What does that even mean?
Yeah. All right, so what's happening after that?
Okay, so I liked this next sequence a lot. This is when 2 heads are better than 1. So Sarah kind of goes off, and Sarah follows her because she's kind of taken in all of this information and trying to figure out what to do, because they lay out on the table exactly why they have literally risked everything to come back here for the spear. And so she's like, I have to think. And so Sarah accompanies her to, I guess, to kind of help her sort it out and to explain a little bit more her side of the story and what, ultimately they need to do with the spear. I mean, they've got to find a way to destroy it or use it, I guess, as the case may be.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I thought that Katie Lotz did a very good job with this scene.
Playing both parts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
she did. Yeah, it was actually, it's funny, but out of everybody, she seems to have her head on the most straight this season. And for her to confront herself, they're like, what a perfect pairing. They just seem to work so well together. They, the strategy, the thinking, the planning, it was just very, very cohesive back and forth between the two of them. Yeah,
it was. And I mean, I definitely think this conversation plays into the decision that she makes later.
Right.
For sure. Yeah. But I thought it was good. I want to talk about those things. I really liked it.
Yeah, no, it was a good scene. She really did. Just seeing both parts of her like that, she's not being troubled or confused by it. She's taking it in and processing all the information and making her decisions with herself.
Yeah, I know, yeah. Right?
And then we go from that scene to a Nate with himself kind of scene to talk about Amaya.
Yeah. Basically, he realizes that he's in love with her, and he tells his past self, "You're in love with her," and he's like, "Whoa, let's not go that far." And he's like, "Come on, dude, just tell her how you feel."
Yeah, exactly.
So that was kind of a cool scene, and we get a nice payoff to that at the end too.
Yeah, and again, he also did well acting with himself there. It was really well done. Like this scene together, it really looked like the two of them were there. Like the way the camera went back and forth. It was, it was a stand-in for them, but they did it really well, and it was seamlessly edited. So it's a good job.
Yeah, it was. It was really well done. I mean, I haven't seen a whole lot of this really done, and not done this well really since Fringe. I mean, they did a good job on Flash with like the doppelgangers and stuff, but. I felt like this was really good. It reminded me more of how Fringe used to treat it. So
right.
It was really good.
Well, this is where things suddenly jump into like Fast and Furious excitement.
Yeah, and this is where it gets a little crazy because the Legion finds the Waverider, which is a big problem.
And they start blasting away at it.
Yeah, and as a last-ditch effort to get away, we try and do a time jump, but this was quite possibly one of the worst things we could try to do.
Yeah, well, I mean, Rip was warning them here, like, not a good idea. It's going to cause what they called a time storm.
Yeah.
So we keep getting all these cool variations on different effects on time that, depending on how severe the event is, you have a time wave, a time quake, and now a time storm.
Yeah, I thought this was pretty cool that they had different variations and like degrees of severity for breaking their first rule of time travel. I liked that there were real consequences and that there were bad consequences, especially by the end of the episode.
Right.
So, yeah, so they get into this like time storm thing, which basically it looked really cool. Yeah. But, they're like trying to jump somewhere, but because there's aberrations, or I don't know, because they're all together, basically the time ship just totally like freaked out and went into like a death spiral. Almost.
Yeah, like they could not leave. They can't, because it's like they're ripping two versions of themselves out of this time period, and it can't happen.
Yeah, because if they remove themselves, and the selves that have come back would no longer be there because Doom World never would have existed in the first place. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the time paradox. It makes your head hurt.
It does, hence the storm. Yeah, my God. Yeah. But like you said, it goes spinning off into, and all the soldiers are noticing it. Like all the 1916 soldiers can see it.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah, so it goes flying off and crashes into the ground. And they're still there. They never jumped anywhere in time. And now the ship's damaged.
Yep, which is a big problem. So now they're realizing that they basically have to go out and fight the Legion of Doom and get the past legends to the other Waverider so that they can at least leave. Because if they leave with the spear, then they'll erase the future legends that are there, which was the idea, because they're now the aberrations.
Right.
So that was pretty cool.
Right. So they get back out onto the battlefield, and it's a massive fight sequence, and probably one of the coolest ones we've had all season.
Yes.
Because there's some cool stuff happening, like Ray and Firestorm. You see Stein and Jax join to become Firestorm, and they both take off.
Mm-hmm.
And they're doing their thing from the air, and there's some wicked fights, hand-to-hand combat happening on the ground. But you see Firestorm get hit with an arrow.
Mm-hmm.
And I know some people were taking issue with that. They're thinking, okay, he's Firestorm, he's engulfed in flames. How could he get hit with an arrow? Well, I don't think he is. It's his feet, his hands, and his head that are engulfed in flames. He got hit in the chest.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, just because he's got flames, I mean, that doesn't make him, like, impenetrable. I mean, I guess in theory, the nuclear reaction should melt the arrow. I guess maybe that's where people are going with it. But yeah, he got hit in the chest, like in the shoulder.
Yeah, well, he's not a nuclear reactor himself. I don't think his whole body is burning. He's not like the Human Torch on Fantastic Four.
Yeah, I think that's
true. He controls it. So I don't think his whole body is like a furnace. So that's why the arrow was still able to strike him.
Yeah.
And it takes him down. And before we even get to that scene, I mean, there's some of the hand-to-hand combat. Like Jax was I guess was the future version of him. He had some wicked moments in this episode. He has become so badass.
Yeah.
Both versions of him here, because there's a scene where he actually took down Malcolm Merlin. He grabbed an arrow out of his arrow quiver, spins around, stabs it right through his leg, and then takes a couple shots. It's just a fantastic maneuver. It was awesome.
Yes. Oh, that was great. I loved the way he took down Merlin.
Yeah. And then, a couple action moments later, when Firestorm gets shot out of the sky, you see Merlin, Stein, because they break apart when they hit the ground. So Stein goes tumbling away, and Merlin takes an arrow, knocks an arrow, and is about to take down Stein. And you see Jax in this extremely heroic slow motion run to get in the way just in time. He leaps through the air, takes the arrow himself to save Stein, and like the aberration version of himself. And what a heroic moment. It was so cool.
I know, it was great. And then you realize, you're like, oh, he's dying. He's dead. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like it just happened so fast. And then this next scene happens so fast too, because it cuts right to Mick, right? Mick and Dark, and then Snart kind of comes up behind him.
Yep.
And he's trying to talk him down. And he's like, we're partners. And he says, I don't have a partner. I have a team.
Oh my God. What a turning moment right there, eh?
Yes. So it's like, okay, he has taken this whole season and he has come full circle. This is awesome.
Yeah.
And then he got an ice glacier thing through the heart.
Well, an ice stalactite or whatever it was. It was a massive spike. That's a good word. It was a spike.
That's better. I was trying to, I said glacier just for over exaggeration, because I was like, I wanted to say like ice pick, but I'm like, no, that's too small. Anyway.
But it was surprising to see Snart run him through like that, because I guess, this is the old version of Snart. He hadn't become the nice guy yet, but Mick is his partner. Remember that story in Flash we learned that they've been friends since they were like 12 years old. And I think just for Snart to turn on him that fast, I know Mick's been back and forth, and they're not sure if they can trust each other. I just wonder what happened to Snart here, that he was willing to end his friend like that. It was a shock. It was still another shock.
I mean, he couldn't control him anymore, and he was about to pull the trigger on Dark, I guess. So he's like, well, okay, I'm done with you.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the only explanation I have. I was surprised. I was really surprised when all of a sudden you see the ice, whatever, kind of, ice spike. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Come straight through his body. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Not expecting it.
Well, because it's at this time, things are happening so fast. We don't know who is who. Like,
I know.
I didn't know if that was past Mick or future Mick. You don't know. And then Snart gets blasted by the heat gun, and it's Mick saving. Like, it's just back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah, and I like because Ray's reaction to his death, he was really upset, and then past Mick comes right up because Snart's about to turn on Ray, and then past Mick blasts him, and Ray's like, "Oh, hey, you're alive." He's like, "Don't hug me."
Yeah. Don't hug me. Yeah, exactly. That was a pretty funny scene. But I mean, Ray and Mick do have a kind of connection. It's been touched on here and there on certain episodes, but they really kind of have a bond with each other.
Yeah,
and that's just showing Ray. He's just the good old boy of the team, and he's emotional. He wears his feelings on his sleeve.
Yeah, he definitely does. And so that was cute.
It was cute.
I liked that. and then
next.
Dark just comes up and stabs Nate from behind. Like, literally stabs him in the back. Was not expecting that death. I mean, it's just like back to back to back. We have, each of them start dying. And I'm like, oh, no.
Yeah, like surprising. You're not able to gather yourself after the last shock, and then another one happens, and another one happens, and jeez, everybody's falling like flies. What's going on?
I know. You can see from my notes, they get real short in this section. It's like, Mick saves Ray from Snart. Yay. Oh, Dark kills Nate. Oh my gosh, he tapped him in the back.
Yeah.
Literally what I wrote, people.
Oh. That's crazy. So that's 4 of them down.
I know. His closing line.
His final words.
Yeah, as he's dying, don't be a douche.
Maya's looking at him. What?
I know. That one on first watch got me too. I was like, why would you say that to her? And then you hear himself talk back to him. He's like, I won't. It's like, oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, pretty good scene.
Yeah.
But then this comes to probably the best part of this entire fight sequence. I think after Jax was Sarah versus Dark in the trench. It's a sword fight, and what a spectacular, awesome sword fight. The choreography for that was just unbelievable. You could tell that they have been training hard for these scenes, because it just looked unbelievable. It was great.
It was really good. It kind of redeemed for that bad one. Was it Raiders of the Lost Ark that had that terrible choreography?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, this was excellent. Very well done.
Really, really. And I mean, Sarah held her own. She actually took him down. She had the sword to his throat. Mm-hmm. And I'm surprised she didn't kill him, but yeah. Wow, she had some willpower.
Yeah, got to preserve the timeline.
Yeah.
And this was before she has her little dream sequence chat.
Yeah.
So that was pretty. That was good. That was some serious character growth.
It was.
Had to
and
get
you said it.
I did. I say it like every week.
Or people say it for you.
Oh, well, that's true.
Jeez. Well, sometime during that whole sequence, we saw Rip, one of the versions of Rip go down too, because Thawne flashes by him and cuts his throat open.
Is that what happened? I could not tell, because you obviously get to the end here and Sarah just disappears, but she was the only one left.
So you didn't see what happened to Rip?
For the life of me, I had watched it twice, could not figure out what happened to him. And I'm like, are there 2 Rips still running around? What is going on?
Well, there is, yeah, but Thawne zips by him, and obviously with a blade or something, but he cuts him. And when you see Rip hit the ground, there's this huge gash in his throat, and it just opens up as he's saying his last words. The gash opens up wider, and that's him dying. Yeah, it was kind of a little bit gory, but
I'm really glad I missed that. That's pretty gruesome.
yeah. So,
Man.
and I think that was sometime just before all the reverse flashes show up, or it was one of the reverse flashes when they all showed up.
It was when it happened, because there was because there was so much going on, and it was hard to tell, because all of a sudden you have the remaining people, and then you have Thawne come back, and originally we think it's just one reverse flash speeding around them, and then we see that it's not one, but like, what, 20, 30, 40? How many of them were there?
It's unbelievable. And then this is where you realize, oh, that's the backup he's talking about.
Yeah.
But man, how many... He had to have traveled through so many points in time to grab all these remnants of himself.
Well, he's been doing a lot of time travel to stay away from the Black Flash.
Yeah, and to bring and have them all come here. Like, it was spectacular, and probably the most gripping, oh my god, swallow you know, kind of sound effect. All of those speedsters that you're screwed. We are screwed. One reverse flash is more than enough.
Yep.
Having that many, holy cow.
I know. I completely had the same response that Tony had on the Facebook group. Which I won't repeat.
Holy shit.
Yes, exactly. I was like, oh, reality is screwed.
Yes. Oh my god. Oh.
So the only way out of this, as all of the speedsters they're running around. So he kills Rip, but it looks like to me he was just knocking everybody else out. Or they were knocking everybody else out, which was kind of confusing because they're obviously all not dead. So the only person he had to have killed was Aberrant Rip.
Yeah, and Ray was standing in there a little bit. You could see him shooting and punching.
Yeah.
A few of them out, and even Nate he steeled up and he was taking a few of them down as well.
Yeah. You could see him try, and then one by one, the reverse flashes were getting the better of them all.
They could only be hit so many times, so they were going. Even Nate steeled up eventually went down because he just could only handle so many shots. Yeah. Okay.
So, this is the point where Sarah realizes there's only one course of action.
Yeah. Use the spear, and she starts to, but then she hands it over. She tries to hand it over to Amaya.
She tries to. But Maya gets knocked down, and Rip is like, Sarah, you have to do this. I believe in you.
Yep.
Which was sweet.
And that's when we flash into I don't know what you'd want to call it, the power of the spear's internal reality, whatever it is. But there she is in an apartment, and it's all candles, and she's dressed in comfy clothes, and you're like, what's going on? And in walks her sister Laurel.
Oh, it's Laurel's apartment.
Was it Laurel's? Okay, I didn't recognize it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Because as soon as I saw her sitting there, I'm like, that's Laurel's apartment. I was like, oh my gosh, did she bring Laurel back from the dead? That was my initial reaction.
Yeah, that's the first thing you think of, because she's been questioning that. She's been struggling with that decision all season long. Yeah. So your first thought is, she did it.
I know, exactly. And then after they sort of talk a little bit, she realizes what's going on. So I liked that it was sort of this alternate reality dream sequence, whatever you want to call it, and that the spear was basically showing you the version of reality that you want, or that your like deepest, darkest desire is, I guess.
Right.
So there's a lot of nice Arrow Easter eggs in this conversation.
There was. Yeah. I wanted to ask you, like, how did you feel as soon as I saw Laurel? I actually felt all warm and fuzzy inside. I was like, oh, because this. I know a lot of people complained about Laurel's story arcs in some of the seasons. Even I did. I think it was season 2 or whatever. But the
Season
thing is,
2, yeah.
Laurel has such a history with Arrow and the characters on there. There's such a deep connection. I mean, it was her and Oliver originally from the get-go, from the beginning. It was the two of them. So she's deeply ingrained in this whole story. So to see her, and she's been gone for a while, so to see her kind of there and alive and being there for Sarah, it was a very nice, touching moment. And I loved it.
It was. Yeah.
The only thing I do have to make a bit of it's not really a nitpick as a comment, but did you notice how much bigger she looked than Sarah?
No, not really.
Okay.
I wonder if it was a weird angle.
No, there's a scene when the camera's showing them both on the couch side by side. She's like towering over Sarah, and I'm thinking, is Katie Cassidy that much taller and bigger physically than Katie Lotz? Go back and take a look at that scene. Maybe I'll post a screenshot of it. And, with in our Facebook, because I was like, what? Holy cow! And
I mean, I think she's a bit taller for sure.
Yeah, I think so. I think for sure Katie Cassidy is taller, but also I noticed that she's put some weight back on, because in her last few episodes of Arrow, she was really getting skinny and kind of gaunt almost.
A little bit,
yeah. So she looks like she's filled back out again, which I think looks better on her, and it makes her look stronger.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully that's due to her working out, and she's, because she's preparing to come back to Arrow next season, from what we heard. So
true, that's true.
Yeah. So, but anyway, like I said, she looked great, but she also looked way bigger than Sarah. And I was just like, holy cow! You have to take a look at it. You'll see.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, I just like that this brings the Sarah character like completely full circle.
Totally.
She's used this season to come to terms with the death of her sister and with her revenge on Damien Darhk, and she no longer, she's come to terms that she doesn't need to kill him anymore. Mm-hmm. And so I loved that at the end of the day, it wasn't that the spear needs someone pure of heart, it needs someone strong enough to do the right thing. That despite all of this stuff that has happened to you to make you who you are and this kind of almost damaged and broken person, that when you have the power to take it all back, you won't. I loved that.
Yep. Yeah. No, it was, I'll just echo what you just said. It just really brought Sarah around full circle in her story arc from everything. And if you're a fan of Arrow, from watching what she went through on Arrow as well, it just, it just really was really, really touching. And it just really, I think more so than ever, well, more so than any of the other characters, except maybe Mick. I mean, I think between her and Mick, the character growth, there it is again, between the two of them is just, they had huge story arcs this season.
They did.
And yeah, this was just fantastic to see Sarah be able to close, put a bookend on that part of her life, and see her accept what she needs to and be okay with it.
Mm-hmm. And I felt like that scene was a huge payoff for Arrow fans.
Yeah.
Huge payoff. So I was happy we got it.
Exactly. So, back to the battlegrounds.
Back to reality.
Yeah. And she's made a few changes.
She certainly has. I loved this interchange. I love that the Reverse Splash speeds in, grabs it. He's like, "You're too slow," and I'm like, "Was she though? Was she?"
Uh-huh.
I did do a little. I mean, he kind of had me for a minute when he starts. Then I'm like, "Oh, it's not glowing." I'm like, "It doesn't work," and he's like, "You depowered the spear." I was like, "Yes." Good job, Sarah.
But for a moment, and when he grabbed it, you're like, oh no.
I was like, are they going to do this? Are they going to do this?
Yeah. So it's pretty funny, though, because he says it doesn't work, and she's kind of snickering. And then you hear a distant sound.
Oh, yes. This was so great.
And and I love how he came from a distance. He comes running over the hills just to give a nice lead up and to build that moment to instill fear in Thawne. In comes the Black Flash, looking as grimacing as ever.
Oh my gosh. Gruesome. He finally caught up with his prey, I guess.
Yeah, the remnant, what would you call it? The blemish on time or whatever. I mean, he chases speedsters down that screw with time and aren't supposed to be there. So yeah, his time prey.
Yep.
But he
sure
grabs
is.
him, and of course he vibrates through his chest, just like Thawne does.
Yes, I know. I thought that was fitting.
And I'm guessing, like, because you see Thawne start to kind of not crystallize, but turn to charcoal and then dissolve. And is that because he stopped his heart, or because Black Flash has some type of... It's almost like a disease, like a sickening. If he vibrates into you, that's it. You start to rot from the inside out. It's kind of the effect it looked like.
Oh, that's an interesting thought. It looked similar to me to what happened to him when Eddie shot himself.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought maybe it was just because he's a time remnant. And so when the Black Flash kills him, he's killing something that shouldn't exist. So he's re-erasing. That's not really a word, but you know what I'm trying to say. He's being erased from existence. Well, again.
Yeah. Well, didn't we see the Black Flash? Oh no, is it the time wraiths that when they get a hold of you, they suck the life out of you and you basically age super fast? I thought it was Black Flash that did that too, wasn't it?
I don't know if Black Flash does for sure, because I don't think we've actually seen him touch anyone, but have we? But the time wraiths definitely do for sure.
I have a feeling it's a little bit of both. I think because you get touched by Black Flash, I think you basically rot, because he's kind of rotten and stuff himself. So I think that's the look that I got, or the feeling I got from that look they gave, that he's rotting and deteriorating, and because the Black Flash got you, and he's also disappearing from the timeline at the same time.
Got it. Okay.
Now, after that happens, well, first of all, I was actually kind of going, oh man, they're killing Thawne. No, he's the greatest ever. No, they can't kill him. He's the best villain. But wait a second. He's just a remnant.
Mm-hmm.
This is a version that was from a trip to the past and somehow survived and figured it all out and was basically on the run. He was trying to outrun his own timeline, so he would never come back to the point in time where he's actually going to disappear. So I believe he can still come back from another trip, because obviously, as we've seen with all these other ones, Thawne's left remnants all over the place. So I don't think this is the last time we're going to see Thawne.
I want that to be true, but okay. So my husband and I actually were arguing this back and forth on Tuesday night. But okay, so he killed his time remnant, for lack of a better way to phrase it. So we're going to call him the original time remnant, the one that we've seen on Legends the whole season.
Yes.
And in this episode, he also travels around and brings in a whole bunch of other time remnants that look like they start disappearing and fading away, kind of like Sarah did after the original time remnant is killed / erased from existence.
Right.
So do you think he went and collected all of his time remnants, or he just collected a bunch of time remnants?
I think he created those time remnants. They are remnants of the remnant, and that's why they disappeared when he disappeared.
Oh, okay. I can get on board with that.
Yeah.
Because the thing that I kept coming back to, I was like, well, but he can always come back from the future. And then I was like, no, he can't come back to the future because Eddie died and erased him from existence so that he couldn't keep coming back from the future.
Right.
Right?
Right. Okay. But this is where the timey-wimey stuff gets difficult, because
yep.
Oh yeah, you see, if Eddie kills himself, that wipes out the family bloodline. So he could
Yep.
never be born again. So there is no longer a version of himself from the future that can come back because it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't know how many times he has traveled back in time. So how many remnants, like is there a remnant out there somewhere that can figure it out again and time travel itself and never catch up to its own demise? This is where I don't know if we can have an answer to it. If there is remnants left out there, then you would think that one of them can figure it out and stop itself from dying as well. But the show, I think we have to wait for the show to explain that to us if there is. I can't see them. Reverse Flash is way too good of a villain. I can't see them writing him off the show permanently. There's going to be some way they'll write around it.
That's what I feel like too. I feel like I can't talk myself into it or out of it, but I sort of feel like at some point there's a way he's got to come back.
Yeah, I mean, with them having to fix reality again, maybe it has something to do with that. It might have something to do with Flash with Barry on the Flash. Maybe because we're still dealing with Flashpoint over on that show. Barry might eventually go back and completely fix everything like he does in the comic book and the movie. And that might fix what happened to Eddie Thawne. It might change all of that too. And Reverse Flash will still be born in the future.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot that can happen. They can't.
There's a lot that can happen.
He's too good of a villain. There's no way they're going to write him off completely. No way.
I know. All right.
So yeah. But anyway, now the next point after that was a good little discussion.
Yeah.
Right after Thawne gets killed, Black Flash zips over to Sarah and basically stares her down. Almost like, I want to know what you thought of that, because was he warning her that I know you've screwed with time? Be kind of careful kind of thing. But he can't kill her because she's not a speedster. I wonder, is there a rule in place that the Time Wraiths and Black Flash can only go after speedsters? And so I was wondering if he was trying to be intimidating to her, like, I'm on to you, you've screwed with time, watch out, even though he can't really do anything. I think he was just trying to instill fear in her. That's what I was feeling. What did you think?
Yeah, no, I agree, because I was like, now that is interesting. And they showed that to us for a reason. Mm-hmm. And you're right. All throughout the Flash, they've been saying that the Time Wraiths and the Black Flash go after speedsters that mess with time. And they definitely say speedsters. They don't say people. They don't say everyone. They say speedsters. So exactly. I think that's the case, that he knows that something's going on and she's kind of messing with time and he's not happy about it, but he can't do anything about it because she doesn't have the Speed Force.
Right. That's my feeling.
Technically, he can't track her. So how did he sense her, though? Because
he can see I think he can see everything and everybody. He's there. He's physically there.
Yeah, but in the bank episode, the bank vault, he acted like he was kind of like sniffing around, and then they said that if Thawne didn't use the Speed Force, he couldn't track him.
Oh, right. Well, so maybe that's with speedsters. Maybe he can only track speedsters when they're using the Speed Force, but everything else he can see, because he obviously has to, when he's running around, he has to, avoid buildings and cars and whatever, all that stuff and people.
Well,
so
yeah, that's
maybe everything else is just normal to him.
Maybe. I don't know. But I thought it was very interesting, for sure.
Yeah, I'd love to get some feedback on that, see what people think about that. And then the next little question I have about that is, there in 1916, he sped off back over the hilltops into the countryside. Is he stuck in 1916, or can he time travel himself by running?
I imagine he can time travel himself because he kept chasing Thawne everywhere.
Oh, yeah, that's okay. Sorry. I should reword that. That actually sounded like a very stupid question. Come on, Flash. Get with it. I just meant he sped off into 1916. So, yeah. Is he staying there? Is he hanging out? I wonder where he's... Because he didn't
I don't know.
He didn't open a portal and disappear. He just ran off into the countryside.
Yeah, he sure did. I don't know. We'll have to see where he pops up next. I have a funny feeling he might be coming after Barry.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all the excitement over. Now we're kind of gonna get into a few scenes that were tugging at the heartstrings here. Wow.
Yes.
Man,
Yes.
were they? Yeah. So one of them is we see Mick taking Snart back to the point in time in 2014, I think it was, where Eobard first went and picked him up to join the Legion.
Yep. So he drops him off. Oh, I loved this scene. I think we might be hearing it a little bit later.
Yes, because we hear the same music
Mhm.
from that heart-wrenching, brought everybody to tears scene last season when Mick had to go say goodbye to Snart.
Yep. And he says that he's better. He's a better man. That was sweet.
Yeah, it's quite a. I mean, first, of course, the funny part of it is he pulls out this device, which everyone immediately was like, "Oh my God, it's the Men in Black."
Yes. Yes, exactly.
The memory zapper thingy. I don't even remember what it's called, but
Oh, I forgot
Yeah.
what they called it, but yeah.
so he has a nice little speech with him, or a little chat with him, and then he flashes his memory, and you just see Snart kind of look over the Bayside, I guess, see Central City, and Mick walks out. It's very, again, he's saying goodbye to him, and man, because what makes it tough is because Snart's arguing that, oh, you're dropping me off here just so I could join some stupid crew and die in the future saving the world. Like, what the hell? And Mick's like, yeah, but you're going to be a better man, and that's what's important. That's what means the most to me. So you wrap that all up, and Mick having to do that and say goodbye, knowing that his friend is going to get to that point in time and die again. I just like, man, it's hard on Mick. I think Mick has tugged at my heartstrings more than anything over this whole show. It's crazy.
I know, me too. That was kind of sad. But he had, that was kind of a similar choice that Sarah had to make. You have to leave him there to ultimately join the team and sacrifice himself and save everybody.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they all die.
Yep. So that's one. And then the next one.
Amaya and Nate.
Mm-hmm. And it looks like Amaya's packing to leave.
Yeah, well, she was going to return to her time, and then apparently Nate was going to go with her.
Yeah.
And then she decided, she's like, no, I'm going to stay here. I'm like, okay, well, that's interesting. So that kind of brings up the whole destiny versus free will argument, is like, how much will her staying change things, or can she live a bit of her life and figure this thing out with Nate and still go back and have her destiny catch up with her? I don't know.
Yeah, which is, I think, is what's probably she's going to do, or what's going to happen. I think she wants to stay with Nate because she realized when she saw him die, she realized her feelings for him too. So I think she wants to stay with him, but I think I can't see them completely rewriting Vixen's entire destiny. She'll probably eventually go back, but
she has to. Right?
That kind of changes, because I thought we were going to lose her this season. Remember last week I was talking to her. She's probably going to be one of the characters we're going to lose because we need to open some spots up for the new people to join.
Yeah,
and that doesn't look like that's going to be it. Not
nope.
her. So
not unless something crazy happens in the premiere of next season. But yeah, as of right now, it looks like she's sticking around. That was surprising to me.
Right. I mean, and also at this, not only they dropped off Snart, but we hear briefly that they took Malcolm Merlin back to his lonely apartment in 2017 Star City.
Left him right where he was.
Yep, kind of drunk and just being the sad loser at that point in time. And then we get one with Sarah and Dark.
This was really funny. And this one made me laugh a lot.
Well, yeah. They drop him off. I found it funny why they dropped him off there. I was trying to connect The point
That's where he was from.
That's where they grabbed him from. Yeah, okay. So it's the whole Miami Vice scene again, and he's got his Ferrari and his white blazer and white pants.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
It was really funny.
We'll be hearing that in a little bit too, but
Yep.
yeah, just showing like the dialogue between him and Sarah, because he's like, "What? You're leaving me here? I'm just going to kill your sister again." And she's like, "I know, and that's okay. I've come to accept it, and I'm okay with it." And zaps, and she zaps him. It was another good scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Another heavy decision. I mean, she knows that by restoring him into the timeline, that's exactly what's going to happen, is he's going to kill her sister.
Right.
But she was able to come to terms with that. So
Yeah. And one final goodbye. One of the last ones.
I know. So Rip's decided he's leaving.
Yeah.
Which was surprising, even though, I mean, we've already shared the news that he's definitely coming back. But I didn't think, before I had read that article, I was like, there's no way he's gone for season 3. Because I figure we're going to need his expertise to fix whatever they've done to LA.
Yeah. But it was still pretty emotional, that the way he was saying goodbye, and he didn't want to say goodbye to anybody. He was hoping to just sneak away. And
Yeah.
Sarah kind of caught him, and so he's the whole scene where he's like, I was never a good captain. The team is way better together with you in charge. So you're the captain now. And,
Exactly.
Yeah, it was a cool scene. And again, people with I'm glad Rip's gone, or no, we can't go. I'm 50-50 myself. It was a nice way to write him off, and I thought, oh, they're getting rid of Rip. Okay, it was a nice way. I was sad to see him go at that moment.
Yeah.
Because he's still never really, over the course of 2 seasons now, he still never really won me over as being a really great hero kind of character. I don't know.
He wasn't, though. He was almost more of an anti-hero, which I think is why I liked him so much.
Yeah, but
Because we said it time and time again in season 1, he was a terrible captain. I mean, he acknowledges it, that Sarah's the better captain here. And then, in this season, he's played 3 different people. So that was
that's right.
a crazy story in and of itself.
Yeah.
And so he's still trying to deal with all of that and process all of that. And plus, he doesn't feel like he has a place in the team, and he's not their captain anymore. And yeah, I mean, I get it. I get why he would leave, but
So where's he going?
I don't know, because they try to jump somewhere and they can't go, and then get stuck in this craziness. So he must have taken the jump ship and gone somewhere, but I don't know where he went. So that might be kind of cool to see where he went.
Well, we know he likes the Wild West.
That's true. Maybe he's going back to that time loop place.
And to just hang out there. Yeah.
Yeah, because
exactly.
that was like outside of the timeline, or outside of time.
Well, our team is all on the bridge, all in their seats. They're ready to take off. And this was probably one of my favorite moments in the entire episode, where Sarah's like, all right, Mick, you plot the course. You've earned it. And Mick just has the biggest smile on his face. And he says, Aruba, let's go. And I mean, yeah, it was entertaining, but it's that moment Sarah gave Mick what he's been needing, and what we've all been hoping to see is that he proved himself to the team, and they are going to trust him finally, and he is a full-fledged member. He's not just a criminal in their eyes. And I just love that moment. She's like, you earned it. Plot our course.
Yeah, I know. I loved it. It was so great.
It was so great. And then, they're Aruba. I just love it comes back again, Aruba. They just want a vacation. Let's go to it for a holiday. They're all excited about it. And, well, not quite going to happen.
Yeah, no, we have, they get into the temporal zone this time. And then there's pretty immediately, there's another time storm.
Within the stream, yeah.
Yeah, so that's all going pretty crazy. And then all of a sudden they get ejected out of it. And they're somewhere. Gideon says they're in LA in 2017.
Yep.
And as soon as they look outside, they realize that they've broken something.
Because there's futuristic buildings and
Dinosaurs?
What the heck is going on here?
And was that Big Ben?
It looked like some type of clock tower. Yeah, I don't know if it was Big Ben, but
I think that might be what it's supposed to be. So they've really broken something because they're in some sort of what has to be some sort of like bubble paradox / not truly part of the timeline, but kind of part of the timeline place.
Yep.
That has everything kind of folded in on top of itself. Ooh, what if they're inside of a black hole? That'd be cool.
What? How?
I don't know. Because we're in the temporal zone and they got ejected out into some random place where everything is kind of like compressed on top of each other.
Oh, man.
And time is all displaced. And
I don't know if my brain can handle that much stuff.
I know. That's probably, they won't go that sci-fi, don't worry.
Boy. But it's just, how are they going to do it? It leaves us hanging at that moment.
Yeah.
Of course, I know immediately what you thought is like, how's this going to affect Arrow and Flash? There's still 5 episodes of that show left.
Exactly.
What's going on? Like, and immediately there was a post, which we could add as news at the end here. I guess the producers they've already explained that because I guess people jumped all over it. They've already said, don't worry, we're going to explain that. Arrow and Flash will not be affected, and we'll explain it when Legends come back. So
yeah, that was in the same article with Rip.
Was
the
it?
Rip announcement. Yeah. So
Okay.
there'll be a link to that on the blog post.
There you go. But
Yeah.
so for us to speculate though, what the heck can they do? What's going to go on? They're in 2017 LA. Things are messed up. They don't have the spear. Can they travel back in time again to fix it? Like, how can you fix the time storm? How can you fix what's possibly gone wrong?
I have no idea. They're gonna have to figure something out. I don't think they're gonna be able to immediately jump anywhere though.
No, because the ship's crashed.
Yeah, exactly. So they're gonna have to stay there and figure out what is going on, how to survive, and what it all means. So that might be pretty cool to kind of get some explanation there. But I think since they were ejected out of the temporal zone, I think because they've caused some sort of paradox. So I think that's how they're going to have this version of LA separated from our current version of like Central City and Star City, because it's like kind of like that Wild West thing was like a pocket universe, or I forget what they called it. I think it's going to be kind of the same deal, except it's a paradoxical universe, which is why we have dinosaurs and futuristic buildings and Big Ben all in LA, and it's very all over the place.
I see. Yeah, it could be a special place that's not really part of time.
Yeah, because
everything's messed up.
Yeah, so they've kind of created this paradox. It's not another universe, but I'm gonna call it universe for lack of a better way to explain it.
A pocket of time. They created their own pocket of time.
Yes, exactly.
That could be very cool and interesting to see. We'll have to see if that turns out. If you called it, that this will be your early prediction for season 3. That's kind of a cool idea.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to think of anything as to what could possibly have gone on. I just can't see them going back in time again to fix it.
Yeah.
When it's this messed up. I mean, it's time storms and time quakes and.
Yeah, they're gonna have to do something to figure it out.
Something pretty serious. So I can't wait. It left me wanting more. I am completely gonna have a very long summer waiting for a show to come back, because that's oh man. Well, that ends our show though. That wraps up all of our plot points. Let's get into a couple of our sections, shall we?
All right. Yes.
Form of water.
All right, so nitpicks. Here we are. Kind of hard to come up with something this week for a finale, wasn't it?
It kind of was. It was pretty well done, and even like the little things that kind of happened throughout the episode weren't enough to kind of detract from the episode really at all for me. I mean, I rated it a 10. I loved it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you really had a big nitpick, then that would bring your score down. So
Yeah. So the kind of little nitpick I had, and we've talked about this a little bit, was that why is it only when Rip walks into the room that the time quake happened or the reality quake happened?
right.
Because the other doubles are already there. So that did bother me that it only happened when Rip finally walked into the room.
Yeah, and we tried figuring that one out during the show, so
Yeah.
so it just bugged me a little bit.
It did, and like I said, not enough to really detract from the episode, but I mean, I liked some of the theories that we kind of came up with and how maybe it's really tied into Rip and maybe there's something more to Rip as to why that might be happening. That could be cool. So I hope maybe they explain that a little bit more.
Right. Yeah, hopefully.
But what I have another one, but it kind of ties into yours. So why don't you go first?
All right. Well, same thing. Not much to nitpick about, but the one thing kind of bugged me. Remember in that episode when we had the two Sarahs fighting and I said, oh my God, they're not even looking at each other. God, this is awful. Well, they kind of had something like that happen in this episode where the aberration or second version of themselves weren't exactly the same. And where it stood out the most obvious was when the two mix stared each other down on the Waverider. One was like 4 inches taller than the other one, and he was looking down at him. I'm like, come on, that's the exact same person. How is he bigger than himself? And I just little visual things like that I know. It's probably a lot of people didn't see it, but if you go back and look at it, one is quite a bit taller. And I'm thinking that, come on. Oh well. Little things like that bug me. But the other thing which we kind of touched on also is when all the reverse flashes, all the Eobard Thawns showed up and they're ripping around. And of course, I think there was a few people on the Facebook page complaining about it too. You're thinking, okay, one reverse flash is near impossible to stop. He's freaky. He's the worst villain ever or best villain ever. When you have 100 of them show up, you might as well just kill yourself. You're done. Like, there's no way. It's impossible. And it just seemed too easy to kind of, I don't know, the fighting that to take them back. It just seemed a little too easy what was happening there.
Yeah, it did a little bit. I mean, on the first watch, to me, it was kind of like, okay, all those speedsters are running around, but not one of them can grab the spear. So, I mean, I get that obviously they couldn't do that so that the show played out the way that it did. But then when I rewatched it, I kind of had a different take on it. And so I've kind of addressed my own nitpick.
Okay.
So I'm going to explain this and you see if you agree with me. So when I rewatched it, I think that even though we watch all of these next scenes play out in over several minutes, I think the intent was that all of this entire thing from the reverse flash showing up to him fighting all the other legends to Sarah using the spear to the dream sequence with Laurel, I think all of that was in reality happening in like a split second, but because it's TV and for the effect of it, they wanted to show the different pieces of the fights with each legend trying to take on the reverse flashing kind of failing. And then Sarah coming to the decision of what she needs to do and executing it. And then obviously the whole scene with Laurel, which was pivotal to the entire thing, because when she kind of basically comes back to reality, Eobard grabs the spear and he says, "Too slow."
Yeah. See, I really like how you've explained us out of this, because that would make total. You're really this is usually the stuff that I'm having to explain, and you've really taken the fawn by the horns this time. No, this is great. This is great, and that's a fantastic way to explain it. That in order for us to see what's happening, we had to see it stretched out over a few moments of time. But really, you've got speedsters that are. Well, they're speedsters. They're freaking fast. Exactly. So that probably all happened in a matter of a few blinks.
Yeah.
And so when Sarah goes into the spear world, I'm going to call it, that's timeless. Time doesn't exist in there. So even though we're watching this really long scene with Laurel, that's actually taking no time at all.
Right.
So when she comes, it is a matter of thinking it, and it's happened. And so, yeah, I really believe that that's what went on, and that makes it all work and seem plausible to me. And anybody else that has any trouble with it, I surely hope that they can accept that too, because that's probably the best way to explain out of that.
Yeah, that's the conclusion I came to on watching it a second time. So everybody else out there, go rewatch it if you haven't already. Let me know if you agree or disagree.
Exactly.
Actually, just let me know if you agree. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, Harley, moving on to Quote of the Week.
Shape out an eagle!
Yay.
Yay. Well, man, this episode was full of some fantastic, spectacular, stupendous even scenes and lines of dialogue. We could not just pick 4. We've got a few this time, so which is fine. It's the season finale. Let's go big before we go home and have some fun with these quotes, right?
Sounds good to me.
All right. Well, before we get to this week's, we have our winner from last week. What was the winner for Funny Quote of the Week?
It was a reality check.
The very first thing I did in this reality was acquire my magic. I'm gonna miss you, Ms. Lance. Having you around to attend to my every whim was too enticing to pass up. Plus, it's so hard to find good help these days.
Really? Now's the time for a bad guy monologue?
Snarky snart.
I know. Like, I'm kind of surprised it won, but at the same time, not really.
Right. All right, well, let's dive into these awesome ones this week. What's going to be our first one? What kicks it off?
Star Labs, The Final Frontier.
Gideon? What is that? Is that another ship?
Negative. It appears to be a desk lamp.
Oh, bollocks. Right, engage our cloak and plot a course.
Heading, Captain?
The nearest open window.
I don't know why it made me laugh so hard when he just said the nearest open window.
Yeah, such fun.
Oh.
You like my little title for that one too? I thought I came up with some good ones this time.
You really did, yeah. These are really good titles. I approve.
Cool. All right, what's our number 2?
I like the weird stuff.
Now, I'm wondering how many Dr. Horrible fans we have listening if they picked up on that one. Here we go.
Yes. I have missed you. Really, dude? I will never, ever leave you again.
Rip, we found a suit. You need to close in on our position before I have to watch Ray do any more weird stuff.
It's like, dude, you have issues.
Oh, yes. So funny.
That was awesome.
Okay, quote number 3.
Double trouble.
Wait, they're 2 sets of legends?
When do I get to rob a bank?
Just deal with them.
That's a quick, short one.
I know, but it was just
Yeah.
it was just like the interchange between all of them is just like, wait, what? And then it started, I just want to rob a bank. Just deal with it. Just do it.
Exactly. That's probably our shortest one ever.
I know. Well, I really wanted to include that, literally that entire scene, but it felt a little too long. Because Dark had some good ones in there too, but it would have been long.
Cool.
So.
All right. Well, on to number 4.
Close Encounter of the Sarah kind.
You guys all right?
Yeah, just seeing double.
We're fine. We're fine. I just need to get to the library so I can, locate Christ's blood. I need to run some repairs on Gideon.
Yeah, and I need to get the spear and beer.
It's just the music too. Like they're obviously making it as funny and goofy as they can. It's just priceless.
Oh yeah, the music totally makes that entire scene.
Totally does. All right, finish it off. What's the last one?
Back to the ridiculous future.
All right, so let me get this straight. In retaliation for me helping kill your team, bending reality, and torturing you, I'm to wear this ridiculous outfit and shoes without socks?
He's just like incredulous. Without socks?
Yeah, it's so funny.
Ridiculous. Some good stuff.
Some good stuff, Harley. Yeah, you really picked some good ones this time for sure.
All right, well, let's move on to your serious scenes.
I will. First off, the winner from last week was Cold as Ice.
I am sorry about your friend, Nick. I know you loved her to pieces.
I wonder. I'm almost wondering why people pick that one to win, or because it was the most emotional, or were they happy to see Vixen go? What was causing that to be the favorite? Yikes!
I think it was just Snart being evil Snart and Mick maybe being conflicted. I don't know. It was a great scene, but I am also I'm surprised at our winners this week. Actually,
yeah, a little bit. Well, you know what? I really, really struggled with the scenes this week. There is so many of them in here. I could have had probably 10, and I whittled it down to 7.
Oh, my goodness.
You've got a lot of scenes to pick from this week, Legendaires, but you know what? It's our season finale, and as I said, go big before we go home, and these, I just could not take any of these out. There's some good ones based on the emotion in the scene and what the scene itself means.
All right. Well, start us off.
All right. Number 1 is called Reality Baking.
We can't allow Doom World to continue no matter what the risk.
Okay, well look, like time, reality needs to set. Essentially, we're in a race, not against time, but from a reality wave initiating from 2017.
All the more reason to get moving.
At the very least, we need to mitigate the scope of the time paradox by avoiding contact with our former selves at all costs.
See, that's where he explains it when we first get a kind of a glimpse of what's about to happen.
Yep.
Very cool.
That was a great one. What's next? Number 2.
And number 2 is Out of Place, Out of Time.
What happens to us when our former selves destroy the spear?
We cease to exist.
Because we never would have existed if the Legion hadn't gotten the spear.
You're saying we're the aberrations.
In order to save the world, we have to erase ourselves.
Dun, dun, dun.
That one is heavy for me because can you imagine being in their shoes and realizing you basically have to kill yourself?
Yeah, no, that's not a very easy decision to make.
No, freaky.
Mm-hmm. All right. Number 3.
I'm sorry, people. That you guys have got tough decision this week. Number 3 is regretful advice.
We all want to change the future. I'm not talking about the future. I'm talking about changing who you are now. I want you to do the things I wish I would have done and said the things I wish I would have said. You want to know why? Because there's nothing worse than looking back at your life with regret.
Now that one I chose because you can apply that to your actual life.
Mm-hmm.
It has a lot of meaning for me. That's regret.
That's a good one. That was really good.
Yeah. All right. Number 4. Is this number 4? Yeah, number 4 is One Way Ticket.
We won't be time jumping together. You're not coming with us.
This has always been a one-way ticket for us.
Your team has to get the Spear of Destiny away from here. We won't fail you guys.
Whoo, another one of those scenes where it's just like gulp. Oh boy.
I know. Oh man. So good. Are we on 5?
We are counting down, yes. Number 5 is called Braveheart.
Everything that has happened to me, all the suffering that I endured, it's all led to this moment, hasn't it?
The Spear doesn't need someone pure of heart. It needs someone strong enough to do the right thing. Sarah, it needs you.
Even if doing the right thing means not having you back.
I'm never too far away.
That one's a good one.
Oh, the good performance on the two girls. Wow.
Yeah.
That's some sad stuff. Sad because she has to make that choice right there.
I know.
Okay, what are we? Number 6, right? Number 6 is.
Yeah.
Are you ready, Harley? Because a better man.
I'm gonna wipe your memory and put you on the right path.
You mean the path where I join up with some Brit twit and die trying to save the world?
No. You die trying to save your friends.
It's still a death sentence.
You know what your punishment is, Leonard? You end up being a better man. And so do I.
Better? You mean softer?
No. I mean better.
I think that one's my favorite.
Man, yeah, the relationship between those two. God, I tell you, like they're bad guys. They started out as bad guys, and yet they tug on our heartstrings more than anything else. It's crazy.
I know.
It's just a testament to the performance of those two actors. And I mean, watching a pair of muscle-headed thugs work their way into our hearts, it's crazy.
I know. What do you got for us for the last one?
Well, we're going to wrap it up with one that's kind of a cool scene. I think this one's pretty cool. It's a good way to end it. It's called Passing the Torch.
Then you owe me, Captain.
I'm no longer the captain. You are. And in that spirit, permission to depart, Captain Lance.
Permission granted. Stay out of trouble.
But without you, Lord, I think that'll actually be quite easy.
See, now that's why they should never have announced that Rip was coming back. Because you listen to that music, it was a very nice way to write him off.
I know.
And they should have just left us hanging with that, where we could feel good about him leaving, feel good about the way they said goodbye and the way he acknowledges Sarah as being the better captain. They should have just left us with that, because that was a really nice moment.
It was, and it still is. I mean, but I agree. They announced that too soon.
Yeah, exactly. So that's it for our feed. Or sorry, not our feedback. We haven't gotten a feedback yet. That's
nope.
It for our quotes. So you've got a lot to choose from, guys, and we apologize, but we kind of don't, because that's such good stuff that, oh man, it's going to be tough for me to pick too.
Yeah.
Really, really tough. But I would like to see lots more votes this time around. I mean, we get good. It's usually we get 10, maybe average about 10 people voting on these things, and it kind of fluctuates. And yet we've got over 200 members on our Facebook page now. So let's get everybody. I would like to see votes up in the 50s for a winning vote or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah. That would be
get some more people voting.
Yes. Well, now that I mentioned feedback, we are not doing feedback this week because our legendaries came through. We have so far 10 feedback submissions. We hit that number that I requested in order to push us to a second bonus episode dedicated to responding to feedback, just like we did last season, and I think everybody enjoyed that. It allows us to really dive into the feedback and get some really good discussion, hopefully, from them. So, no feedback this week. We're going to get to it next week. And what I want to encourage everybody to do is to send in more feedback. Last year we got 12, so we're sitting at 10. I want us to beat our record. As I was saying, with our Facebook members, we also have a lot of downloads. We got over 200 members. We got over 200 downloads every week. We know there's a lot of you listening, so let's crush that 12 and get a whack of feedback in for us. Let's hear from some new people. Right, Harley?
Yeah, and send us some voicemails. We've gotten a lot of emails, which are awesome. But let's get some new voices in here.
Yeah, we'd love to hear some of the new voices out there.
Yeah.
For sure.
If you would like to be a part of the show, you can send in your feedback to tomorrowslegends@gmail.com. That's spelled with one R. You can also reach us on Twitter at tomorrowslegends, also with one R. We'd love you to join our Facebook page at facebook.com/groups/tomorrowslegends and become part of the community.
So on that note, Harley, we're going to skip flashpoints and straight shots because this has been a long episode. We're kind of discussing behind the scenes. We don't know if we're going to include that in our feedback episode, or we'll maybe do a little quick half-hour show discussing our thoughts on Flash and Arrow because they're on hiatus right now for a couple more weeks. So we're kind of still figuring out what we want to do with that. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are. Yeah, I'm still on the fence. I was kind of trying to think, and I was like, yeah, we'll figure it out. Maybe we'll talk behind the scenes and see if we have enough substance. Or if we have a ton of feedback, we may not have time.
No, that's right.
To do, Flash and Arrow and the feedback. So we'll just have to see what happens.
Exactly. Well, I think that's probably going to do it for us this week. This was a very long episode, but I loved it.
Yeah.
This one was fun to get into and fun to talk about. It's our finale, so what the heck?
I know. It was a finale. There's paradoxes. I mean, we had a lot to discuss.
We did totally have a lot to discuss. Now, for next week, what we are going to include on our feedback show, because we are doing the full feedback episode next week. If you remember, if you were with us last season, at the end of the season, we put up a bunch of polls on our Facebook page because we wanted your guys' input on our show as to how me and Harley are doing it. Things you want to see changed, things you want to see improved upon, things you want to see taken out, whatever. So we are going to include a bunch of polls. We're going to put them up probably in the next day or two so that you guys have the week to vote on them, and then we'll be able to discuss the possible changes or whatever during our feedback episode. So look for those. We'll get them up. We're going to discuss behind the scenes here the exact questions we want to present to you guys. And yeah, please get on there and let us know how we're doing, what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, and that way we can continue to improve our show and make it the best Legends show out there for all of you guys. Sound good, Harley?
Sounds great to me.
That's the end of our show, guys. Thank you for hanging in with us for this very long finale. Thank you for being with us for the entire season. We know you loved it as much as we did. This was fantastic. Oh, what a fun season. There's a lot of people saying that Legends was the best of the DC shows. What do you think?
Oh, it was fantastic. Most improved, for sure.
Yeah, Totally was. All right, guys. Well, until next week for our feedback show, this is The Flash, signing off.
And this is Harley Quinn. I'm out.
Tomorrow's Legends is not affiliated with CBS, Warner Brothers, or the CW. We're a fan-made podcast for entertainment purposes only and are part of the Cybercast Network. Find our podcast in iTunes. You can leave us a rating and review. We'd love that. As well, we can now be found in Google Play Music.